Welcome to the weekly commodities and equities review. Let's start with the Dixie on the weekly chart. I've highlighted some liquidity zones. Obviously, we've got a big liquidity zone sitting here, and we've got a liquidity zone below price here. Um, we do have our obviously tracking in terms of the level drops. Obviously, we got one level drop here, and we got two here, and we're expecting the last one to bring us into this level here. Now, currently, price is obviously holding quite sideways here around this 197.1 zone. Here it's holding quite well. I mean, the least part of resistance would be for this liquidity to be taken and then create a divergence for you to then obviously continue to go to try and bounce up. But I think if we lose this floor here, which is around 97, which is very likely, then that kind of starts the journey into obviously our next drop here, which is around the 90, 91, 92 to about I'd say 90 zone, somewhere there, which is very likely. So into next week, obviously we've closed red. So this weekly chart is red for me. But with all these red candles, sometimes you can go back onto the candle a little bit. It can go back because you can see there was a bit of pressure here. If we These were our lines from last week in terms of low and high. So we can move that box and say that, this is our floor here. Let's put it on. If we break it, which I think is likely, then we come into this box. However, if we obviously close above this here, which is 98.2, if we daily close above 98.2, if we bring it here, so yeah, 98.2. So if we have a daily close above 98.2, then chances are they're going to take liquidity, which is sitting around here. There's quite a bit of liquidity sitting here on this candle, which hasn't been taken yet. So if we close above here on a daily close basis, then expect that we'll be going up to take the liquidity here, and that will probably take us also probably slightly higher into the 99 to 100 here. And once you get into this place, then it's a change in structure, and you're going to go for higher prices. So that's something to bear in mind, and I think it's obviously something to track during the week to see how the candles are forming on the week. The bias is obviously for us to come here, but if the daily candles change and key levels are broken, then you need to change your tune. Okay, so there's liquidity here, there's liquidity down here. So this is the least part of resistance for me. So I'd expect that at the very least we get 96.2. But if we break this base, then you are actually opening the door to kind of come into this liquidity box here. So that's what we're seeing on the dollar. And the month is not ended, so no need to look at that for now. But there's something else that I wanted to show you on the yearly view as well. So on the yearly view, you can see here that each year that you have a red candle, the following year you have a green candle. So here, red, we had a green candle, red, green candle after green year afterwards, red, a green year, red. So I think 2026, you can expect that we'll have a green year on the dollar. This year, we'll probably go below that base. We'll go below the base of what, 95. Definitely we'll go below that, very likely, into probably our box. Or we may not get here. We may get into somewhere here where there's support here, which is sitting at 94.58. So it could also be that we just get 94.58. So, that could be what we get and create a divergence and then go back on this candle. So 2026, we would expect the dollar to go up. But 2025, there's a bit more downside for it to finish before it creates the momentum to be able to come back on this candle. So that's the dollar. Let's move on to the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq, again, a year, you can see that I think this year will be green, and I think, having 3 years in a row green, that the kind of following year you have a red, right? So, three red, three. So you can bank on it. 2027, you're gonna get a red year on the Nasdaq. So that's the year. That's the yearly view. Let's get into the weekly view. So what we're seeing here is let's just get these to align a little bit. And get the RSIs up. So the RSI is still, looking okay. We have a divergence between here. Let's get it. There's a divergence between price here and there. So you can see that price has gone higher, but the RSI didn't exceed this point here. So if we get it bigger so we can see, actually no, it's actually gone higher. It's higher actually. It's higher. So there's no divergence yet on the weekly chart. Everything is still okay. The only sort of warning signals I see is MACD. You can see that here the MACD was rising, rising, then it fell, but price went higher. Then it fell again, price went higher, and again it's falling again, and price is gone. So that may be a warning sign. The volume is okay. It's, the selling volume here is bigger than this. But it's not, I don't think it's a disaster at the moment. I would say it's neutral, a neutral picture for me. Neutral to maybe bullish on this chart. And if we go to the daily is what is giving us some worrying signs. There's a divergence between here and there's a divergence between there. And you have a kind of like a poke above as well. So, potentially we might come to the 50 on the daily chart. But even before that, I'd expect this to go slightly higher first. And we could even go higher, way higher first because, the dollar is still weak at the moment and it's still finding itself. So I would say that next week, let's move this candle, unlock it, and say the price will come to somewhere here. Even if we're going to go down, price will come to somewhere there before, let's put a text on it. Price rise. Text. No. Price rise here before falling. So we know. Yeah, so and then lock it in. Right. So price could likely rise here before. If you go to like say for example the 1 hour chart, you can see that the selling pressure is kind of cooled off. And with this big selling candle and this volume coming in, you've tested it. I think yeah. So you will come and test the 50 because there's liquidity sitting up here. Market makers on this chart don't really like liquidity sitting idle. They don't like it, especially on lower time frame at the very least anyway. So we would expect that they want to take it before we go. So that's that one. So that's the Nasdaq. I think we expect that we probably come up and retest. Maybe we come all the way to retest the week here before. Even if you're going to have a collapse, we have a collapse. But there's a potential for us to have a pullback to this middle of the KC channel on the daily chart. So watch that. And if we break it, close and confirm below it, then obviously opens the path for us to come to the 50. So that's kind of the view on the Nasdaq. Let's move on to the XPX. So the XPX. It's very similar to the Nasdaq. You can see we have a very positive daily close here, so it's a good close. Again, it's very similar picture on the MACD. The MACD is still giving us warning signs. We had a good MACD here, and then pull back, but price still keeps going up. Bullish consolidation, you've gone up. MACD did rise slightly above here, but now we've gone higher and MACD is still not even been able to catch up here. So there's some warning signs on the weekly chart here, especially on MACD for a pullback, not the end of the move, but for a pullback. Um, the RSI is still okay. Yeah, if you ask me, there's no real divergence yet on the RSI. You can see there's no divergence on the RSI, but there's divergence on the MACD. The volume profiles are reasonably okay-ish. It's been falling and falling and falling. From here you can see the volumes falling, falling, falling. So which is also not a good sign. If you bring it to the daily chart, We do have a stopping candle here, and that is not good. So that's a stopping candle. I think potentially we'll go up into it first. I would say if we move our line here and say that move it to somewhere here and say and then change, put a word on it. Um, Price rise to this point before heading back down. And then let's lock it in. So yeah, we would expect that, price could easily come and retest the nine, and even come all the way to retest the middle of the KC channel, which is sitting around the 6639, and then consolidate here, and then continue the journey to the upside. So that's what we're seeing at the moment. The SPX not looking good, not looking too strong relative even to the Nasdaq. Nasdaq looks much better. So that's our prediction for next week. Excuse me. If you look at the the hourly chart, just quickly, you can see here that again, you had volume coming. So this is obviously why I'm saying the price will likely go up. I think we can even go up even higher than that. We can, this could go all the way back up to somewhere here. It can go higher than that. So I think because they don't like this liquidity sitting there for people to enjoy. So I think, let's move it to somewhere up here. It'll go slightly higher than that before we collapse. Okay. If you look at it from the yearly perspective, which I didn't do actually here as well, you can see that again, it's a very similar story. You have 3 years in a row going up. You have a correction, then you have another 3 years. So this year we're not finished. This is pullback. If we get pullback, it's a pullback. It's not finished yet. We will continue to go up um, into the end of into October, November, and then into next year, you obviously get your cooling off period, which will come probably maybe bring us all the way back down to about somewhere here, the 5,000. It's possible that yeah, 5,000. Yeah, 5,000. I think we'll probably come back into 5,000 next year, but not this year. Okay, that is the view on the XPX. Let's move on to gold and have a look at gold. Um, so gold on the weekly chart. Let's look at the yearly first. You can see we've got 3 years in a row again. So, 3 years of going up on gold. Um, I don't know why my chart is being funny. Oh, let's. Okay, so yes, so the yearly, if you look at the yearly view, you see you have like a red one, two, and normally it's three. And then we've got 3 years in a row now, and this is one of the biggest years that you've ever got. It's quite big, bigger, bigger, bigger. So next year you can expect that gold will be red. You get a red year on gold where it goes sideways. Maybe worst case scenario, come and test the tops here, which is what sitting at what high of 2790. You can come there and then continue the journey again into the years ahead. So that's the yearly view. The monthly view is still good, still strong at the moment, strong volume. We expect us to go higher, and we are going. We've already gone higher. The weekly is looking also good. Solid close on the week is strong. Volume is MACD is ticking up the right way. Let's get volume because we don't have volume on that. Yeah, so here you can see that the volume now is we had low volume here, we have high volume now here. So the volume is still good. There isn't any real concerns with the volume. So I'd expect us to go higher in coming week. So the weekly is bullish. But the only caution is, we are well outside the KC band. This is like 2.5 multiplier, and we are well outside it. And even if you put it as three standard deviation multiplier of three, um, we're still way outside it, right? So, it's been a little bit overdone, and you can see here what happened when we went outside it like that. The following month, the following week, we went really high. and guess what? We collapsed and did a pullback before continuing the journey. So I think we have to be cautious here. Last week's box has been filled, all of it. You can see we filled the whole box. So it was a good long trade. If we just unlock it, and what I would say is we will move this to 4 grand. I think between 350. I think between 350, let's call it 325, actually 325 and 4 grand. I think that's probably where 4 grand it might be, I think 3950, maybe 3950. I think 3950. I think that's probably where it will land next week and create a divergence of some sort, and then cool off a little bit, come back into the band, which is sitting around 33806. I would even say that you could be coming to about all the way back to support zone here, which is sitting around 3756. So 3756, 3750 to around the 3620 area could be an area. But I'd expect us to go into this box first. So we've locked it in, and that's fine. So that's gold, higher prices into this box. And because we are way, way overdone, we've gone one, two. This will be the third week outside the band of three multiplier. You're more likely to come back into the band after that. So there's a cautiousness to the the rise on gold into the coming week. And I think that's gold. Let's look at silver. Silver is, oh, this is copper actually. So copper, I was expecting that, yes, we would come back and take some of the liquidity on this, which is exactly what's happened. So we've come back. We went even higher than our prediction here. I think into next week we will go again higher. I think we'll probably touch somewhere here by next week because there's too much liquidity sitting on this candle. They are going to take it. They're not going to let this candle sit just like that. So you'd expect to go come up, and even you can come all the way up to here um, before you get a collapse to the downside. So that's the weekly view. The daily view is still okay. You're just going to continue coming up, and like I said, it can come all the way up here, and even to the Bollinger, which is sitting around what 573. So between here and there, maybe I just put my box. Let's put my box in there. Between here and there is where we would expect the price to come to next week, and then I can get rid of this. Delete that. So we'd expect price to come in here, highlighted box next week. So, and then after that, you could potentially see a cooling off because it's done kind of like the retrace back to the scene of the crime. So that's silver, that's copper. Let's look at silver and see what silver is doing. So silver positive close and go off this candle, you go higher. Um, We'd expect higher price on this daily chart. On this weekly chart, we'll expect higher prices. Again, it's also been a little bit overdone because you're way past the bands. Okay, so um, I obviously we hit our target here, which was last week, which is great. But I think we'll go higher again, and I think $50 is quite a kind of a symmetrical number. It's a rounded number. People would like it. Most people will probably want to take profit here. So we'll put a box around that actually this week. Let's put a box around here, somewhere there between $49, $49 and 55, 51, $55, somewhere there. I think that's where price will come to. And then you have a bit of a cooling off. Whenever you have these huge volumes come in, you have to really sit up. And also the RSI is way oversold 83 as well. So a bit of a pullback is it's in order. So let's lock that in. So we go high there, and then we'll probably come down and do a bit of a cool off back to about 46, 45. It could even come all the way down to about 43, 44. So, and continue the journey to the upside. So I'll just put it here as a potential pullback zone. And that's silver as well. So let's look at GBP USD quickly. So last week was a good close. We have engulfed this bad candle. And we are also in the upper part of the Bollinger, so not the middle part of it, which means we are sitting in a strong territory. I would expect us to continue going up. If we look at the daily is also in a positive territory. RSI is positive, MACD is looking good. So I think we'll potentially continue our leg to the upside here. There's a lot of liquidity sitting here between here all the way up to here. So uh, yes, so I would expect that we could come and take all that liquidity which is sitting here before anything happens. So that's our view on GBP USD. We expect higher prices. Go to 4 hours quickly. Yeah, I mean we'd expect for higher prices on this. It'll go higher. So that's that one. And then let's look at oil. So oil. On the weekly chart. So last week, I think we predicted that we will come back down here, and we did go way below, and we've engulfed this candle. So I think it opens the door now, I think, for us to come back to the basis here on oil. So I would say that's where we put our kind of interest box. Actually, let's put an interest box somewhere here into oil. Would expect somewhere here. Let's lock it in. But at the same time, I think it's possible, it's very likely that you're going to see some liquidity of this candle taking first. So, don't be surprised if price goes back to this side here to about somewhere here first before coming into this box, would be what we would say. So if you go to 4 hours, you can see that already happening in terms of the bounce back, right? So I think I might even move it slightly higher to somewhere here and close it here. Yeah, so I won't be surprised if we bounce back here first before we go down. So that is, I think that's all the stuff that I wanted to cover. I probably cover the VIX as well and see what's going on with the VIX. So the VIX is close to positive close this week. So you could expect it to come down first before again. So you could expect us to come into it slightly first before, even if you're going to go up, we go up. So but the VIX is looking like it wants to go up. The monthly is still bearish until we have a positive close above the 19.3, which doesn't look likely based on the kind of picture we see in here. So more likely we get back into this box. I think this is just a fake bounce that we got. It's a fake bounce, and yeah, although we are sitting above, the 50, um, the higher time frame, the weekly and the daily is not, and the monthly is not that great looking. But the daily looks good because we closed two candles in a row, green. But this candle is still controlling the market. So if it's able to close above 17.2 or 17.3 and confirm, then of course you go higher. So that's the VIX. I think next week we'll see whether it's able to close above it. I don't think so. But open mind. If it close above here, will change my tune. So that's the VIX, and I think that's all I've got in terms of things I wanted to cover. So I wish you all the best and have a good week and God bless. And this is just our views. It's just what we see and we're sharing. So take with a pinch of salt, do your own research and be accountable for your own trades. And ta-ta.